Hey everybody, Scoutcrafter here again. It's Wednesday and it is absolutely beautiful out here today. The clocks went ahead just this weekend, so it's 6:30 p.m. Still light out, just terrific, and it's a beautiful day. It's 70 degrees here now, so it's really nice out, but we have to get downstairs. I want to show you what I picked up at the show, so let's get downstairs and check it out. Okay, let's see what we got at the show. First of all, as soon as I got there, Abe was nice enough. He gave me 3 of these blocks to try out for the show and for the channel. And these are Sandflex blocks. They're different than most of the sanding blocks that you see in the fact that they're very dense, unlike the other ones that are very light. These are heavy. They're it's a hand block, and they come in coarse, fine, medium. And what's nice about these is, well, first of all, they're made in Germany. See, whenever, and you know, made in Germany, that means their abrasives are top notch. I've been using Abe's German Blue Belt for I can't tell you how long, but so we're going to do a review on these and check them out. But these are great, and they're really nicely made. And I think Lee Nielsen sells these on their website, but these are really nice. The first thing I actually bought at the show was this cyanoacrylate glue, and this is a made in Germany. They come in different labels, different types, but I've had this. This is the only stuff that has any shelf life to it. You know, the problems with CA glue, as we call them, is that the shelf life, you know, a year later, the thing is hard in a bottle, whatever. This lasts, so... You know, you buy once, cry once. This was $20 for, this is kind of a gel, and this is the activator. But I'm going to go through a whole glue video coming up, hopefully within the month. And but this one here is made in Germany. And the German one, the CAs from Germany are so much superior than the ones from the United States. Here's an important thing. Store adhesive in a refrigerator for a longer shelf life. Now, I've had my other one. I had that thing for 7 years without it drying up. So, you know, that's really good. So I bought this just because I needed some, but we're going to go through a whole thing. But this I just bought is the first. Next up, I picked up one of these sharpening stone sets, and this has 4 grits to it. And what's nice about this here is it's got a handle on it, these stones, so it's great for doing like an axe when I'm upstate away from electricity or something. You could do your axe or your knives or something, and it has the good grits. It has 600, 800, 1200, and 2000 grit, so that'll give you a pretty nice finish on whatever edge that you need to do when you're away from something electric. So, and these were $5. So next up, I saw this beautiful blade, and I wanted to make one of those folding buck saws from years ago, and this one is just the type of blade that I'm looking for to make it. And you can see here it's tungsten high-speed steel, and made in New York, so you know that's pretty old. Diamond Saw Works, and it's a nice blade. $5. Picked it up, new old stock, pretty thick. This should do well for that folding buck saw I have, because it has a lot of not too much flex to it, so that'll be great for that project. Okay, next up, I picked up something I've been wanting for quite a while. It's a farrier file, or a hoof file. A lot of them are used. This one's made by Heller. It's a 14-inch hoof file, or a rasp as it's called. It has a fine side and a coarse side. This is comes in tremendous use for us here in the shop. Just because it's made mostly bought by farriers doesn't mean that this doesn't have a lot of uses, just like a lot of other files, you know. You can see what I paid for it here. It was $15, but this is new old stock. It was made in the USA. A lot of them, since 2006, they moved their factories down to Columbia, and they've been in business since 1836, Heller files. And after 3 generations, the 4th generation in 1955 decided they didn't want no part of being file makers, and they started selling off the parts of their product line and the factory. Now, what's nice about this file, you know, it has both the files on both sides, and like I said, it's coarse. And if you've ever seen Engel's Coach Shop, my favorite channel on YouTube, you've seen him use one of these, and I just love it, and I can't wait to put it in use. I just want to come up with a decent handle. Again, the Tang's always, I don't know why they do that. You know, it'd be so nice if it had an incorporated handle, but we'll get a nice handle on it. Now, like I said, I was pretty good up to this point. You know, I bought small stuff, and I was ready to leave. I was on my way out. And then I said, you know what? I broke down. I said, I've wanted this for 10 years at least. And I said, I'm getting it. So look what I got. I did it. You know, 10 years ago, I saw this when they first came out with it. at one of the woodworking shows, and I just said, man, that's something you get when you're retired, and I've made them before out of fans and putting filters in front of a box fan, but the problem is that blows up too much dust, the fan. So I need this thing. There's nothing that can replace this. This is great, and it's an air filtration system. It's very versatile. You can hang it from the ceiling, you can put it all over the place, but it has 3 speeds, and what's really great is it says 20 by 20 room, which is about my shop size, 20 by 20. It'll change the air 7 times per hour on this shop, and it has a nice filter. Let me unbox it and show you what we're dealing with. But I wanted this for a long time, and it's funny because Abe says, I saw you walking out with something big. I didn't know what you got, so let's open it up. Again, the reason I didn't buy this before, the price of this unit was $180. It's not a cheap unit, but what's so nice about it is it's so quiet, so well built, and it even comes with some accessories here, as you can see, which I always like. I like when it comes with a remote control, but the remote control does come with batteries, and also comes with all the mounting hardware you'd need, because you can hang this from the ceiling. And how you would do that, you can see that on top of the unit there's 4 nuts, 4 little bolts here that you unscrew, and you could put those hangers in, or you could put it like I have it. You could have it resting on something, but this has a timer on it. You can put on 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hours, and just leave it and it'll shut itself off, which is really nice. Super quiet. And let me show you the back of the unit here. And this is how you pop off the filter. You just pull this one clip down, this clip here, and this filter. It's a standard filter. Comes right out. And it also has 2 cloth filters. These are like HEPA, but you can throw them in the washing machine. So it's a nice little unit, and I've always wanted it. And I said, you know what? I'm there. And one thing when you're at a show, the first thing you do is you check the price. You go right to Amazon or something and make sure you're getting a decent price. And this was $180, no tax, right there. Boom, picked it up. Let's plug it in, see how this bad boy sounds. Okay, we plugged her in, and now we'll just turn it on here. It starts with low. You can see has a little LED indicator, and I don't know if, obviously it's hard to tell what it's blowing, but I made a little. You can see here what it looks like, as far as the air pattern or whatever that's coming out. It's very refreshing. The air smells nice and clean. It's a strange thing, but when I was at the show and they had it on, you walk by and you say, oh, that smells nice and fresh. That's because it's clean air, more or less. I'm not used to that down my shop. You push it again. That's medium. Not much of a noticeable change, but the CFMs is different, and that's high. And you can see here it's not loud. Nothing you'd notice if it was 10 feet away. Leave this on. So I'm really happy with this. I've been looking forward to picking this thing up for a long time, and yeah, I think this will. And then you could set it like I said, you could set the time for an hour or whatever, or 2 hours, and leave it down here when you go upstairs, and they'll clean up the shop. So I need it because I think my lungs is about 3/4 full with dust. Okay, next up we're going to talk about jeweling. And last week we did a nice utility knife, and we did some jeweling on it. A lot of you were interested in that. And I did another video on this, on the introduction, especially of the Kratex type sticks. That's a rubber infused grit that a lot of people use for, but you need a kind of a holder for it. And so I want to do it for the bare bones beginner. If you've never done jeweling and you want to try it out, I'm going to show you a quick and easy, simple way to do it. First thing you'll need to get started is this is a 3/8 of an inch dowel. And the dowels are nothing but a wooden round rod, and you could buy them at any hardware store or any home center or anything. What I do is if I see something like a crib or some kind of gate thrown out, and it has a bunch of dowels running across it, what I'll do is I'll stop and I'll grab it, and that's where this came from. I'll cut the dowels free, and they're great if you have to use them for any kind of projects like we're going to do now. But what we want to do now is cut about 1.5 inch lengths of this, but it has to be a square cut. Now, if you look at this cut here, this isn't a square cut, probably because I cut it off in a hurry, you know, of something that was in the garbage. So that's not a square cut, and you could see that wouldn't be good for what we're going to do. So we have to make this a square cut, and I'll show you how you do that. Now, one way to make a square cut, probably the easiest and most simple way, is to use what's called a miter box. And you can still buy miter boxes. They come in all different sizes, shapes, or a miter saw. And what this is, it allows you to make, and here, it allows you to make a 45-degree cut or a 90-degree cut, which is what we want to do here to square up the edge. So you would place your dowel in here, and you see there's little ribs in here, and that's to hold it straight, and you press down on it like this, and then you just pull the saw. This is a special saw that fits in this slot, and then you would pull this back and forth and make the cut, and that would give you a nice square cut. The way we can get a square cut on a dowel is to make a jig, and to do that I'm taking just a scrap piece of 2x3 and I'm using a right angle plate on my drill press so that I get a parallel hole, and I'm just going to drill a hole through here, and I'll show you why. Now, the reason I did that is because now what I can do is I can take my dowel, press it right into this hole that we made, and I could put it under the chop saw. Now, the chop saw, if I tried to drill a dowel, it would leave a splintery, it would mess up the dowel. By doing it this way, it'll give a nice clean cut, and I'll only go about halfway through the block, just enough to cut the dowel, and I'll show you what that looks like. Now you can see by doing it this way, we get a lot of them exactly the same size, and I'll show you why that matters. But also you get a nice clean cut from that chop saw, which is a, you know, a blade that really isn't a fine blade, but it gives you a nice edge. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some Scotch-Brite. Now, different types of Scotch-Brite. We're going to take a fairly coarse Now, there are different types of Scotch-Brite you can use. This here is a Scotch-Brite you might get at the supermarket. This won't work. This is just too fine. It's made for pots and pans, made not to scratch. The kind you want is here. It's a it's more or less an industrial type Scotch-Brite, and this one here, it's much thicker, it's coarse and nice, and we're just going to cut off a little piece here, and all you do is you take a scissor, cut that off like that, and then I'll show you what we'll do. We're going to glue these to the end of the stick. Now what I'm going to do, I cut into 2 strips, and then I cut the strips into little blocks. I'm going to epoxy these using a quick set epoxy. It dries very quick. I'm going to epoxy one to each end, and then just trim around it using the scissors when you're finished, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. Now, real quick, once the epoxy sets up, what you do is you take your scissor like this, and you just trim around the dowel on the bottom like this. It goes real quick. Just cut it around the bottom. It doesn't have to be perfectly round, but you just want it just like this, okay? Trim it around the bottom, and it should look like this. And when you have it like this, see that? That's just like that. That's going to be your jeweling dowel. And you're going to do both ends, because when you do both sides, you could flip it in the drill press. Okay, here we go. There we go. See that? So now you could flip this in the drill press. You could do one side. When this gets, you know, when this gets clogged up, you flip it, and then you got another side. So let's do the rest of these. Okay, here we have 5 jeweling sticks, but you could see it's actually 10 because they're double-sided, and you could see how that was a couple minutes to make these. Let's jewel something. Let's have some fun. I'm going to take this hammer, this old Estwing hammer. We'll just jewel this little area here. So what we want to do now is we just want to, I'm going to take it under the fiber wheel just to get it, some of the scuffs off, and then we'll jewel it and see how it looks. Okay, we're at the drill press, and this is the best way to do it. You could probably get by with a hand drill, but a drill press makes it so much easier. Now, I have the hammer propped up under a scrap piece of wood here, so this is somewhat level. You want to get as level as you can. And then what we're going to do is, you can see, we're going to bring this down, we're going to touch it here, and then apply just a little bit of force, and then we're going to just move it around here and make that jeweling mark and see how it comes out. And you know, it's all about the pattern. The pattern makes, you really want them to go perpendicular, but you know, with this little area here, I think any kind of jeweling will look good. So let's give it a shot. can see the jeweling effect on something like this. The hammer is very hard and it doesn't really bite in too much, but you could do it with hardened tools, but it takes a little bit longer. Let me show you what it would look like on aluminum. Now here's our homemade jeweling stick on aluminum. Look how nice that looks, huh? I mean, you know, and just that's a straight pattern back and forth. Isn't that beautiful? And you could do that on any tool, more or less. But let me show you one more way you could do this without any of these tools. If you just take a dowel and some grinding compound. What we're going to use here is, this is a lapping and grinding compound. It's made for valves and engines and things. And all it is, it's a medium, like a almost like a grease that's mixed in with an abrasive. Now you could probably make the same thing using a grease and sand. You know, I'm sure it probably worked the same thing. So we're going to smear a little bit of this on the aluminum and then use the dowel with nothing on there, just a plain dowel, and let the lapping compound swirl. Okay, and here we have the finished result with the trying the lapping compound. Now again, I'm not, you probably, the dowel might have had a little concave in it because, you know, I could see it was grabbing around the outside, but you could see the difference, right? I prefer the Scotch-Brite, especially for aluminum or soft. Look at that, how nice that is. And this is okay, but it's definitely not like the other one was. So, you know, that's just a quick introduction to jeweling on two different
So in closing, I hope you enjoyed that quick introduction. If you want to know more about jeweling, I have that other video. The link will be in the description. Double Take Junior, and you can check that out. And thanks very much for tuning in. Hope you have a nice day. Take care now. Bye-bye.